Want to stump that one friend who swears they know everything about muscle cars? Next time you chat, ask them to name a few mid-1960s General Motors intermediate-sized muscle cars. They'll probably start rattling off classics from the 1960s and early 1970s, like the Pontiac GTO or the Chevy Chevelle Easy Picks. You'll likely get a blank stare. So why is it that cars from the mid-60s are overlooked? Sure, they get a bad reputation because of chunky bumpers and low-power, smog-strangled engines. But is that really fair? Those flaws don't mean much anymore, especially since modern aftermarket parts can fix just about anything. Here are some of General Motors' weirdest V8 engines, the ones even the most seasoned car enthusiasts might not know about. Like the Chevy's classic Task Force trucks, General Motors Company once made a massive 637 cubic inch V8, the largest gas-powered V8 ever for highway trucks. It was basically their 478 V6 with 2 extra cylinders, built from 1965 to 1973 for both gas and diesel versions. Earlier, they also had unique V8 engines in 287, 316, and 336 cubic inch sizes, easily spotted by their double U-shaped valve covers. These engines weren't Chevys. They were designed for torque, perfect for trucks and tough jobs. Chevy's Task Force Series trucks, 1955 to 1959. The second series, 1955 truck, debuted the first Chevy truck V8, a 265 cubic inch engine, a 12-volt electrical system, and optional power steering and brakes. That year, a stylish wraparound windshield and, on deluxe cabs, a wraparound rear window were also introduced. By 1958, fleet-side beds were added, and trucks were rebranded as Apaches. A major front-end redesign brought 4 headlights and a shorter, wider grille. Parking lights moved into the grille, and factory air conditioning became an option. The series wrapped up in 1959 with minor updates, including a bigger hood emblem and fender badges. Moving on, we have the Oldsmobile Rocket V8 engine, made from 1949 to 1990, which was a groundbreaking piece of American car history. It was one of the first overhead valve V8 engines, designed for high power and reliability. This engine started a revolution in car performance, offering more power, speed, and style than anything before it. The Rocket V8 debuted in the 1949 Oldsmobile 98, producing 135 horsepower and 263 pound-feet of torque when paired with the smaller and lighter Oldsmobile 88. It created the Rocket 88, a fast, affordable, and stylish car. It could hit 97 miles per hour and go from 0 to 60 in just 13 seconds. This combination of speed and practicality made it a hit among car buyers and racers alike. The Rocket 88 dominated the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing in its early years, winning most of its races from 1949 to 1951. It even inspired the song Rocket 88, often called the first rock and roll record. With its sleek design, powerful engine, and impressive track record, the Rocket 88 is remembered as the first true American muscle car, paving the way for the high-performance vehicles we know today. Like the famous Chevrolet brand we all know, it started back in the late 1980s. Chevrolet wanted to bring real performance back to the Corvette. They aimed to create a car so advanced it could rival anything Europe had to offer. The 1990 Corvette ZR1, nicknamed King of the Hill, had the LT5 engine developed with the help of Lotus, the British engineering geniuses. This wasn't your average V8. The LT5 was a 5.7-liter, all-aluminum powerhouse with 32 valves and dual overhead cams, cutting-edge tech for an American V8. It cranked out 375 horsepower and 370 pound-feet of torque, enough to rocket the ZR1 from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.4 seconds. Lotus even added a clever system that shut down half the intake runners and fuel injectors at low throttle for better efficiency. In 1993, the LT5 got upgrades like improved cylinder heads and exhaust, bumping power to 405 horsepower. Built by Mercury Marine in Oklahoma, the engine paired perfectly with a Bilstein suspension inspired by Porsche's 959, giving the ZR1 incredible handling. Though its $60,000 price tag hurt sales, the ZR1's record-breaking speed and innovation cemented it as one of the most impressive Corvettes ever built. Even today, the LT5 remains a marvel of engineering brilliance. You remember the Cadillac V864 engine from 1981? It was a bold attempt to save fuel by letting the engine switch between running on 8, 6, or 4 cylinders, depending on how much power was needed. While this idea might sound great today, back then, it was ahead of its time and full of problems. The system worked by using solenoids to deactivate certain cylinders when cruising, turning the big 368 cubic inch V8 into a smaller V6 or even a 4. Cadillac bragged about its computer command module, CCM, which could make 300,000 decisions per second to manage the system. Unfortunately, the technology wasn't fast or smooth enough, causing delays and rough transitions that frustrated drivers. The engine promised up to 15% better fuel economy, but didn't deliver much improvement in real-world driving. Cadillac owners were especially annoyed by the engine's hesitation and uneven performance. Most people ended up disabling the cylinder deactivation system altogether, leaving the engine stuck in full V8 mode. Despite its failure, the V8 6.4 paved the way for modern systems like Chrysler's Hemi multi-displacement system and General Motors' dynamic fuel management, which now makes cylinder deactivation common. It's safe to say that Chevrolet dominated the streets during these years, especially with iconic models like the Chevrolet's W Series Big Block V8, butted in 1958, designed for both cars and trucks. This massive engine stood out with its unique scalloped valve covers, thanks to offset valves. While the offset wasn't a performance trick, it allowed the engine to be shorter and fit bigger valves without major rework. The W Series came in 3 sizes: the 348, the 409, and the rare 427. The 348 was offered from 1958 to 1961 in cars and through 1964 in trucks. The 409, introduced in 1961, was made famous by the Beach Boys' hit song 409. Finally, the 427 appeared briefly in 1963 as a special racing engine with a staggering 430 horsepower. The entry-level 348 produced 250 horsepower, while the Super Turbo Thrust version with 3 carburetors delivered up to 335 horsepower. By the time the 409 arrived, it was cranking out 425 horsepower with dual carbs, making cars like the 1962 Impala SS some of the meanest rides on the street. But at a time when rising tough emissions laws and rising gas prices were killing muscle cars, Pontiac came with a solution Firebird Trans Am of 1980 and 1981, coming up with a 301 turbo V8. Despite its small 301 cubic inch size, this turbocharged V8 made an impressive 210 horsepower in 1980 and 200 horsepower in 1981, pretty strong numbers for the early 80s. The 301 turbo wasn't just any engine. It was Pontiac's first production V8 with a turbocharger, borrowing inspiration from Buick's turbocharged V6. To handle the boost, Pontiac engineers strengthened the block, added a hotter camshaft, and used a Garrett turbo that cranked out 9 pounds of pressure. They even designed a new hood for the Trans Am with a big turbo decal and vents to show off its fire-breathing personality. The Firebird had to carry a heavy body, but the 301 turbo gave it enough power to stay fast and exciting. This was Pontiac's last shot at keeping the Firebird a true performance car before a new model arrived in 1982. The 301 turbo wasn't perfect, but it kept the Trans Am flying high during tough times for muscle cars. Our last car, the Cadillac V8, is a legendary name in American car history. It started in 1914 when Cadillac became the first company to mass-produce V8 engines. Over the years, Cadillac built several famous V8 engines, including the groundbreaking 5.4-liter engine in 1949, which eventually grew to 6.4. In the 1960s, Cadillac introduced even bigger engines, like the 7.7-liter in 1968 and the enormous 8.2 in 1970. The Cadillac 500 was the largest V8 ever made by General Motors for a production car. It debuted in the luxurious 1970 Eldorado, producing up to 400 horsepower and an impressive 550 pound-feet of torque. The car could rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 6.2 seconds, making it the fastest Cadillac of its time. Despite its size, the engine was smooth and refined, designed to deliver power effortlessly. By the mid-1970s, tightening fuel economy standards and the oil crisis forced Cadillac to reduce the engine's compression, which lowered its power. By 1976, the engine produced just 190 horsepower. Even so, the Cadillac 500 remains a symbol of American luxury and power, admired by engine enthusiasts for its unmatched size and performance. Which of these legendary cars have you had the chance to experience firsthand? Share your stories with us in the comments. We'd love to hear them. Don't forget to support our channel by subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe and take care.